Hello everyone, Carl Matthews A here for a very different type of video. Recently I've been bursting with ideas for my series, but due to the fact that my series will probably take 10 years to make at the rate I'm going, someone will probably use these ideas before I could. So I decided to share these ideas with you. And before anyone asks, yes, this video is entirely inspired by the Unlucky Tugs videos. In fact, this idea works even better thanks to his TV series map, so I'll just jump into it. This is how you can fit Rusty to the Rescue into the official Thomas show. Now to make this work, you have to ignore and add in certain things, but the general idea is the same. Rusty saves Stephanie from a scrapyard. So let's begin. Many people hate Rusty to the Rescue, and I understand why. I personally have a soft spot for it, and for the longest time it was my favourite episode of the show, and it still is to a certain extent. Most fans hate it because it changes real world events, and if there's something good about Thomas is that it's set in the real world. I had spent some time piecing stuff together to make Rusty to the Rescue work, and I think I'm at a point where I'm happy with it. This is how it works. We start in 1962. The Bluebell Railway and its poster boy Stephanie is extremely popular, and the Fat Controller invites Stephanie to visit his railway. Stephanie visits, and the stories play out the same way they do in the book Stephanie the Bluebell Engine. However, after the events have bowled out, the story changes. After bringing the train to Crovan's Gate, Stephanie and Duck go to the work sidings to fill up on water. Duck leaves the sidings fine, but the points jam before Stephanie can. Stephanie is now trapped in the work siding, and he is told that the points won't be fixed until the next day, so he has to stay the night. Duck has to work somewhere else, so he has to leave Stephanie. Later that night, a tired Rusty returns home and sees Stephanie all alone in the siding, and asks his driver to put him next to the Bluebell engine. Rusty's driver does so, and Rusty begins to talk to Stephanie. Stephanie is nervous at first. I'd like to imagine before this point Stephanie had a secret negative impression on Diesels, but didn't say anything in case he'd start an argument, especially after the one he had met earlier that day. After a while, he opens up and starts talking to Rusty, and he learns that there are some kind Diesels in the world. He and Rusty become good friends, and the next day they both return to work. Rusty goes to repair track like normal, but Stephanie is sent to work at the quarry with Toby and Mavis. This is where we enter the Stephanie Gets Lost section of the story. While at the quarry, Stephanie's crew is offered to take some stone to a building site nearby. They agree, and Stephanie takes the train. On the way home, however, the fog comes down, and Stephanie gets lost. Instead of heading back to Tidmouth, he heads towards the Peel-Godric line, and ends up in the smelters. The fog lifts, and Stephanie and his crew realise their mistake. They go for help, leaving Stephanie all alone. Ari and Bert soon show up, however, and shunt Stephanie in a siding and leave him there. The next day, everyone is freaking out and searching for Stephanie, including Rusty. Ari and Bert take a train to Crovan's Gate and see Rusty all by himself. Due to this being their first time meeting the narrow gauge Diesel, they think he's on their side and secretly tell him about Stephanie. Rusty pretends to hate steam engines, and after they leave, he tells his driver everything. While he does, Duke arrives. He tells Rusty about an old line on the Mid-Sodor that used to run to the smelters. Now this is where the Unlucky Tugs map plays into the story. On the Unlucky Tugs map, the SKR and MSR are connected, with the Mid-Sodor crossing over the line at the old station in Haunted Henry. For this to work, you have to add a line at the crossing that leads up to the smelters. Rusty and his driver come up with a plan to rescue Stephanie. That night, they carefully roll down the rusty Mid-Sodor lines, nearly derailing due to their abandoned condition. Eventually, Rusty arrives and meets Stephanie's crew. Yeah, I know, this probably doesn't make any sense. Why would Stephanie's crew still be at the smelters? When you think about it, they've been there nearly a day. Let's ignore that. They continue searching for Stephanie, and try not to get spotted by Ari and Bert. Eventually, they find Stephanie. He and Rusty exchange a few words, and everyone starts lighting Stephanie's fire and getting him ready. So off they go,
past the bleak and brooding line of scrap metal.
"Where is he going?" call Harry and Bert. "Just down the line," laughs Rusty, and they chuff her quickly away. Later, when the sun rises, Rusty and Stephanie arrive at Crovan's gate to a chorus of cheers and whistles. Rusty and his crew get dubbed heroes, and Stephanie and his controller thank him profusely. The next day, Stephanie goes home, not only being saved from Scrap again, but making his first Diesel friend. And that is how you fit Rusty to the Rescue into the TV series universe. I know there's a lot of plot holes and flaws in this story, but honestly I don't really care. This makes more sense than the original story, and I'm happy with it because I get to consider one of my favourite episodes canon. Shout out to the Unlucky Toad for not only inspiring me to make this video before his map of Sodor. For the longest time I had this theory ready, but had trouble figuring out how to bring Rusty to the smelters to save Stephanie, and his map on the island of Sodor solved everything, so I thank him for it. This idea is free to use by anyone as long as they credit me. I think this episode really deserves more love despite how unrealistic it is. The next episode of this, well, series, I guess I can call it that now because I might make more, is about how the TV series engines are different to their real life counterparts and how you can explain it into the real world. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.